Amazon Web Services panel just confirmed we have somebody on our team that is dedicated to look for how XRP can be used in payments. Here it is.
And then, of course, payments, right? We also have someone on our team dedicated to seeing where XRP for payments can be of use and working with different merchants as well as consumers, platforms and apps to see where there could be a good opportunity for us there.
Are Amazon and Uber about to adopt Ripple in the XRP ledger? Well, in today's video, we're going to show you a brand new update from Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, clearly outlining how the institutions are just arriving in the crypto market and how many of our investors are much earlier than they think. If you enjoy this content, you're going to want to stick around for the entire video as we break down two major concepts our listeners need to understand. One, the institutional game is just getting started, and two, alt season is right around the corner. Now is the time to create a profit plan for yourself, and we're going to break that down later on in the episode. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Good Evening Crypto, your favorite crypto news related channel. And today we're going to show you all an update from Brad Garlinghouse, clearly explaining why Ripple, Uber, Amazon, and dozens of other companies all across America will be adopting blockchain technology in order to survive in the 21st century.
Companies like Amazon employ a couple hundred engineers, and all they do is they integrate into payment networks around the world. So Amazon today, last time I checked, could only support payouts in 19 different currencies. Amazon is, I think one of the $2 trillion companies, and yet Amazon, their marketplace, which is a huge piece of their business, they can only pay out in 19 currencies. And that is a hodgepodge of integrations around the world, ranging from India to China to the EU. Now, if you think about the implication of that to more tangibly a business, we have had conversations with other networks, other marketplaces like Uber. Uber knows that if they can pay their drivers more frequently, the retention of their drivers goes up. Uber has a big challenge in that people join to become drivers and then they churn out. That means that Uber has to go acquire new drivers. That's not a great thing. Now, some of you probably took a taxi here this morning. When you got out of the taxi, you either paid them in cash or you paid them with a credit card, which frankly would settle in a couple days. In contrast, when you're using Uber, the Uber drivers get paid every 2 weeks. Why is it they get paid every 2 weeks? How can we reduce the friction so every time you get out of an Uber, the Uber driver gets paid? Uber wants that to happen, and despite being obviously a major player, the ability, the friction even associated for someone like that is challenging. Our vision is to truly enable global payments such that you can plug in with one API, and whether you're seeking liquidity, whether you're seeking a payment into a payment network, whether you're seeking a payment to a bank, to reduce that friction such that it is real time and extremely low cost. By doing that, we think we can let RippleNet truly scale to serve a new set of customer demands. On demand and real time. Again, we are all witnessing a generation grow up that are sometimes pejoratively described as millennials. They expect real time. They've grown up with the expectation that this is going to be a real time experience. They can click on their phone and have ice cream delivered in 30 minutes. I do love ice cream. Let's not criticize that. So we can make them low cost. We can truly get a dramatic reduction in the error rate such that there are not failures, and deliver an elegant experience both to banks and to their customers.
This is a clear explanation, Johnny, as to why these businesses can improve their models by simply adopting systems that Ripple has already created here on the XRP ledger. And I'd love to hear from our listeners. One's in chat if you believe Uber and Amazon will adopt Ripple and XRP. Two's in chat if you think it doesn't happen. Johnny, floor is yours.
So for me, what I think we're heading closer to, Abs, is what I call SDP. Now, you're probably saying, what the hell is SDP? Same day payments. Who, as an employee, would not want to be paid on the same day that you get work? Think about that. You're an Uber driver, you're working today, and you don't get a paycheck until 2 weeks from now. Now, I know that's the norm, right? We've all become used to it. Some people get paid weekly, some people get paid bi-weekly, some people get paid bi-monthly. Who wouldn't, Abs, tell me you wouldn't like to get paid at the end of the day when you leave. Why shouldn't you get paid?
Even more importantly, think about what it can do for these companies in order to retain employees, but also expand their business models.
Bingo. Because think about it, right? He just said it. If you use a taxi card, you swipe a credit card, the company's waiting 3 days to actually get the money in their bank account. That means that's 3 days that company can't do anything with money because they don't have it. I mean, it looks like they have it on paper, but no pun intended, but they don't really have it. Abs, we are talking now technically about the problem that blockchain solves, which most people and retailers don't care. But I'm telling you why you should care, because this could mean products and services for you, like getting your paycheck at the end of the day. How cool would that be? And what's even more important about that is if you're sitting there, well, Johnny, I don't care if somebody gets their paycheck. I'm retired. Yeah. But if you invest in this technology now, that technology that's going to enable the world to get paid in the same day in the future is going to make a shit ton of money. So you're going to want to own it now before it happens. If you wait and you buy into this 3 years from now, Abs, you missed the boat. People ask me all the time, Johnny, am I too late to the crypto? Am I too late to invest? No, you're not too early. You're not 2020 early like Abs and I were, but you didn't miss the train yet. Like the train is starting to go down the track, but it's slow enough where you can catch up and get on the train and not miss this opportunity, Abs, of same-day payments, which I think is going to change the way the world. And that's just one use case of what blockchain can enable.
$5 trillion is how much daily volume SWIFT does every single day when it comes to the Fed payment system. And this is a major update that we just got this morning as the Federal Reserve has confirmed the ISO 20022 migration is complete. It's time to start exploring the possibilities. And this is a brand new article that was published. But Johnny, I want to emphasize the point that you made. The companies that adopt this technology and take advantage of the inception of this asset class, they're the ones who are going to benefit most off the evolution of this technology. So there is a mutual incentive here, not only to move into this market, but to have these projects that they're invested in become successful. And so I think for the Ripple and XRP community, there's two sides of the coin. There's the Wall Street side and there's the banking side. Now, we just addressed the Wall Street side, 19 different ETFs. First date for approval is scheduled for October 18th. That could coincide perfectly with the Fed reducing rates and the Clarity Act coming inside the United States. This is the alt season moment we've all been waiting for. Well, now we can add a couple of other updates to that, and that is the upgrading of the modern settlement system and the fact that Ripple may receive a federal banking license towards the back end of 2025 to the first couple of months here in 2026. If you enjoy this content and you believe Ripple is going to be a U.S. federal bank, smash that like button, subscribe to the brand new channel, and let's start off with this video right here explaining what's the business model for Ripple and why does it differentiate itself from every other project in the space?
Ripple is becoming a bank. Probably have no idea what that means for XRP. Let me break it down quick and simple. This isn't just another partnership. Ripple isn't helping banks anymore. It's becoming one. That means full banking licenses, direct access to global payment rails, and XRP, its native token, becomes the bridge asset for trillions in cross-border transactions. They've already secured licenses in Singapore, the UK, Ireland, and they're applying in the US. They're playing the long game. While others chase hype, Ripple's building infrastructure. XRP isn't just part of the system. It could become the system. If even a fraction of Swift's $150 trillion annual volume runs through XRP, we're not talking dollars. We're talking 4- or 5-figure potential. This is how early crypto used to feel. Except this time, it's not a white paper dream. It's already happening.
And Johnny, this is why we're so excited about what Ripple and the XRP ledger are creating here, because it's not like any other blockchain that exists today. And going through these next couple of threads, I think our listeners are going to understand that better than any other community in the market. But if you enjoy this content, smash that like button, share some thoughts in chat. This is a great thread put out by Krypto Tank on Twitter. Everyone saying that a $1,000 XRP is a fantasy doesn't understand how the utility of XRP will drive price to unbelievable levels. Just to give you an idea of how high XRP will need to be, I'll give you a couple of examples. Swift does approximately $5 to $7 trillion a day. And Johnny, after this thread, we know Brad Garlinghouse predicted Ripple and the XRP ledger would absorb 14% of Swift by the year 2030. That is over $700 billion in daily volume if Brad Garlinghouse's prediction comes to fruition. Now, JP Morgan does approximately $10 trillion a day. Bank of America, $8 trillion. SBI, $2 to $3 trillion daily. Let's just say Swift is alone. Swift adopting RippleNet currently into their messaging system for cross-border payments. That's only one piece of the pie. The messaging of these transactions, not the actual settlement costs in the EU, goes through this new target system. And this is what separates Ripple from nearly every other blockchain project in the space. They are going after the largest market on the planet. Not 10 trillion, not 40 trillion. We are talking about $150 trillion market annually just through Swift payments alone. And this person, Bob Way, a former employee at Ripple, doubled down on this just a couple of days ago. So one user commented, Ripple will become a global bank with banking licenses in most major countries, Ripple stablecoins in most major currencies, and it will all be run through the XRP ledger as a super global neobank? Yes, almost spot on, said Bob Way. The reason Ripple needs to become a bank is because existing products are cautious to adopt the XRP ledger businesses. So, Johnny, we're early enough to be excited, but we're late enough to see what's going on. And a lot of these positive catalysts are going to coincide perfectly in the fall of 2025, leading us into this euphoric moment and the alt season we've all been predicting. One's in chat if you think we get an alt season. Johnny Krypto, floor is yours.
You know, at the end of the day, Abs, I love how Bob Way put it. They have to become a bank because the banks are scared of them. That's what he's trying to say. In fact, we talked about this the other day on the show. There is a reason why the U.S. government sued them. The banking system who weaponized the SEC against them is scared to death of Ripple. And the part that I'm confused about, Abs, and I never understood, why wouldn't you as a bank want to take this Ripple technology and leverage and utilize it to make your solutions better, cheaper, faster? Because if you don't, other companies will do it to you. And to me, what's been mind-boggling is these banks have waited and waited, and now they're scared to death. They tried to kill Ripple. They couldn't. And now Ripple's surviving. And if they get this banking license, they will be a major, major threat to the banking system. So look for the banking system to either quickly switch into the crypto space, or maybe one of these banks goes, you know what? We're going to buy Ripple. We're going to make them an offer they can't refuse. Don't be surprised if Bank of America, they are a big, big partner in support, and so is SBI for that matter. Don't be surprised, Abs, if we see one of these banks trying to make a big move on Ripple, especially if they go IPO, because if they're a publicly traded company, they could be bought out. Anyway, long story short, why does that matter? Because at the end of the day, us as XRP holders stand to gain financially, majorly, if they start to embrace. Right now, we're still seeing a battle between companies wanting to adopt, all the banks adopting their technology. But man, if they embrace it, Abs, just the numbers you laid alone, I was doing some quick back of the napkin math in my head, and I can tell you, you're already easily, you said 14% of a certain amount of money, just in one of those banks alone could bring the price to $14. Now you add on 3, 4, 5, 6 of these, you could be talking $70, $80, $90, $100 plus XRP in a relatively short period amount of time if they start getting pieces of those daily transactions, that volume. So it's exciting because we know what they're set out to do. We know they're building utility. We know everybody has to understand, Abs, we're very, very early on the adoption stage. I'm sorry, folks. We are not in full-blown utility. Don't let anybody tell you we are in utility. No, we're building utility. We have a long way to go before we're in full-blown utility. And why should you be happy about that? Because we're in full-blown utility, you're not going to be able to afford XRP.
Completely agree with you, Johnny. And I think there's a rational way that we could see this project not only reach triple digits, but reach quadruple digits if some of the predictions you're saying come to fruition. Now, what else is Ripple doing? They're actively going out and acquiring existing businesses and migrating those models onto the XRP ledger. This is Scott Melker in the Bitcoin crowd admitting that XRP has changed the game when it comes to institutional adoption here in 2025.
And I think Ripple is on the forefront of that. I mean, look at what they're doing for Gemini's IPO. Yeah, I think they're giving them a $175 million credit facility. Is that correct? Did you guys see that story?
Yep, that's correct.
Well, Ripple announced this morning, 51 minutes ago, congratulations to Bullish on their successful IPO. And they arranged, Bullish did a partnership with Ripple, evidently, to where they've arranged for $1.15 billion of dollars of the IPO proceeds to be paid to them in Ripple's stablecoin. So, the fact that Ripple's out there doing this should not be surprising. They now have a stablecoin. They're soon to have a banking license, I would assume. They own a large exchange in Hidden Road. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at the fabric that's being woven here and see what it looks like. I mean,
I haven't looked deeply into that, but as you describe it, it seems like Ripple is really skating to where the puck's at with the institutional and government side of crypto. Like they have the money, they have the power, they have the, I guess, regulatory clarity now. And as you said, they can actually utilize their own stable coin to increase usage of it for all these purposes. It's pretty brilliant.
and they can cash their XRP stack in for stablecoin. So it's this huge collateralized, 21st century exchange that is now offering IPO services and payment through their stablecoin. That's first of its kind. It's like what's going on in Wyoming. No one's ever done that before. It's never happened. So it definitely deserves our attention.
This is what I've talked about liquidity in the crypto markets associated with, equity IPOs, right? So, Bullish and Ripple doing some things. There's liquidity being passed back and forth there. Gemini taking a credit facility from Ripple, liquidity being passed back and forth there. There's new capital that's created literally out of thin air associated with Gemini's IPO that's happening momentarily. That's going to continue to fuel a move higher. And again, that to me, that's the reason why there's going to be a breakout to the upside that's going to be pretty extraordinary.
There you have it, Johnny Krypto. And these are traditional Ethereum, Solana, and Bitcoin investors that are now looking at what Ripple is doing for the XRP ledger. And they're saying they've created this super cycle narrative where even during a bear market, let's say that for some reason Bitcoin goes to 180 grand, it turns over in December and we head into a bear market in 2026. Here's my bold prediction. And live chat, smash the like button if you agree. I think that we are going to see the decoupling event that everybody has talked about in the bear market. It's not going to be that some of these projects outperform during a bull run. It's going to be that a lot of these altcoins will correct 70, 80, 90% like they traditionally do. But there's going to be these other ones that are building and developing and bringing real world assets and functioning companies onto their products. And I'll give you a couple names: Chainlink, AVAX, XRP, and HBAR. These are companies and these are blockchain products we can point to right now that are developing real world businesses that will be functioning regardless of if we're in a bull market or if we're in a bear market. And as these ecosystems continue to grow, there is going to be a larger and larger incentive from Wall Street not to miss the bull run for these particular tokens that are developing at a faster rate than any other asset in the entire asset class. So this is just one of many reasons I am increasingly more bullish on a certain set of particular tokens. And I just gave our listeners 4 gems right there. Johnny Krypto, floor is yours.
Listen, when you have your competitors talking about how great your product is, you've made it, folks. I mean, I don't have to tell you. You literally heard Bitcoin and Ethereum maxis tell you what Ripple's doing. We've been telling you this for the longest time, but now you're hearing it from people outside of it. And that's ultimate vindication of where they're headed at. So there's no question about it. We talked about this a couple of days ago on the show. Ripple is going to, and XRP are going to create things that have never been done before. I told you, you're going to have a technology company that's a bank. That's never happened before. Now you're going to have, as he talked about, being able to collateralize and leverage and send out loans of your own product from using your own product, your stable coin and the XRP blockchain technology. These are things that haven't been done before. Because why? Because blockchain is a new technology. It's going to bring new to the world solutions to people. And folks, if you haven't invested in it, you have a little time left before the blockchains start to take off, apps. And I told you, I believe the linchpin is the Clarity Act. I honestly believe, we keep hearing over and over again, that there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines waiting for us to get that final. Like, yes, we all know that through the courts, XRP is not a security, but nobody knows what the rest of crypto means yet. And so the industry is waiting for that. But why is that big, Abs? Well, you got HBAR, you got Algo, you've got Chainlink, you got Avalanche and Ondo, and so many of these other blockchains and technologies that are out there that have good real world solved solutions that institutions want to take part of, and they just can't because they're afraid. So be ready, be packing your bags, be looking at stacking some of those things and putting them in your stable of horses, because there is only going to be a limited time before then we start to see prices taking off.
And Johnny, as we head into this euphoric moment, it's very important that our listeners have a rational understanding of what could occur during a bull market. And this is why I always tell people, click on the link below the video, sign up for Merlin today, and create a profit plan for yourself so you have a successful plan during this crypto bull market. Now, Johnny, I want to emphasize something else in particular. There is going to be a mutual incentive from these companies that own XRP to have the price go up. And this is one of the reasons that I think Ripple, at the end of the day, is going to keep a large chunk of the escrow for the company here in 2025. Now, when I look at Ripple's balance sheet, they've got $13 billion in cash. They've got 4 billion XRP liquid, and they've got 37 billion XRP sitting in the escrow today. One thing that we know for sure, they're not dumping this on the open market. They're getting XRP in the biggest hands of the most important financial companies on the planet. So let's just go down the rabbit hole, right? A lot of smart people smarter than myself, think XRP could be $1,000 by the year 2030. And the more I study this blockchain and what's being developed around it, the more I come to the understanding that a 4-digit XRP does seem to be written in the cards. If we're doing 5 trillion in daily settlement, the average value that XRP would need to be to handle 5 trillion in volume, it's $249. Even if we're only $1 trillion asset, there's $17. So we are at the inception of this thing, and we're so early that it's really hard to understand what is fair value here for XRP. Well, one thing we know for sure, a $3 XRP in the calendar year of 2025 is undervalued compared to where we're going to be in just a couple of years, whether it's Uber, whether it's Amazon, or it's any other company on the S&P 500 that wants to have an advantage over their competitors. They're going to be looking at products like XRP, like Hedera, like Stellar, and so on to give their business an advantage. And it's people like Johnny Krypto who have been here 4, 5, 6 years waiting that are finally going to get to benefit off the adoption of these digital assets. So Johnny, when you think about a 4-digit XRP, is that in the cards before the year 2030?
When you looked at Amazon, right, back in when I bought it, 96, 97, $17, and you asked me, Johnny, can it be 3,300? Well, guess what? I would have told you no, Abs, no freaking way, right? Back then, but fast forward 20 years later, it hit 3,300. So to ask me, could XRP be four digits? Yes, if the adoption occurs. Now, what we need to wait for is that adoption. We need to see all these great ideas that Brad puts out there are just that. They're great ideas. The only way they matter to you and me is if we start seeing companies picking up and putting these ideas to use by real adoption, real use cases. And what we've seen right now is we know Hidden Roads was purchased by Ripple, and they're going to build and show the world how to create cross-border payment solutions and alternative payment solutions that are cheaper, faster, better, quicker. And I think when the world sees that, and then we start hearing Uber and Amazon going, hey, we're designing this in, yes, then it's game over. Will that happen before 2030? It's possible. It's not inconceivable. Can we see 3 to 4x digits? I'm not going to say no, because I think it's possible. I think we need a lot of adoption to happen, but I would not rule it out. But am I also sitting here banking on 4x? No, I'm not banking on four digits. I'll be honest with you, Abs. I think between you, me, and everybody in our chat here, if we got 2 to 3 digit XRP, your lives will be completely different. You'll be living a whole new generational wealth. You'll be at the next level into that 1% range. You have to start preparing out. How are you going to manage that money? And how are you going to have an exit plan, which you talked about earlier? You need to A, have an exit plan, and B, you better start thinking, how do I manage that kind of money? How do I manage $10 million? Where do I put it? How do I protect it? Those are the kind of conversations, Abs, that people are going to have to start thinking about in the next few years.
And speaking of important conversations, guys, the title of today's episode is Will Amazon and Uber Use Ripple and XRP? This is an Amazon web panel saying we have someone on our team that is dedicated to look for how XRP can be used in payments. Here's the direct statement.
And then, of course, payments, right? We also have someone on our team dedicated to seeing where XRP for payments can be of use and working with different merchants as well as consumers, platforms and apps to see where there could be a good opportunity for us there.
Well, there you have it, Johnny Krypto. And she should watch that Brad Garlinghouse clip, which clearly explains where the opportunity is for a company like Amazon or like Uber. And this is building on the back of the news that June 2025, Walmart and Amazon officially announced they are exploring plans to launch their own stablecoin. Ripple is going to find a way to onboard their business models into these very important companies. And you draw the correlation to the early 2000s. We don't even have to look that far. We can compare what Ripple went through to the Tesla price chart. And Tesla was also sued by the SEC, traded 7 years below all-time high. And it wasn't until the lawsuit was over that Tesla's price chart really took off over the next 18 months. And I'm seeing a very similar correlation here for the XRP price chart, where I think that we could be looking at a price chart that trading at $3 today could easily be $60, $70 in just the next 2 years. But chat, I'd love to hear, what is your 2025 peak price projection for XRP? And Johnny, with that Amazon employee telling you there are employees dedicated to working on this specific migration for XRP, maybe they exposed the playbook there. What are your thoughts?
Let me tell you something, Abs. It is not very often. It is highly unlikely that a company like an Amazon or Google is going to tell you what they're doing And the fact that they actually mentioned that and kind of showed their cards a bit kind of tells me that they're almost signaling to the world of where they're going. And I'm just surprised they actually did that. But it also gives me a great degree of, I don't even want to use the word hope, confidence that, wow, let me tell you, wow, that is big that they are looking at it. And they actually told us they're looking at it, because they usually don't do that. And that gets me even more bullish than ever, because if a company like Amazon takes Ripple, I mean, dude, you have to understand what that means. The way companies work, Abs, I've lived long enough in technology to know when one company does something, all their competitors, just so you know, are watching. And they're looking, what are they doing? And how can we do it? So if Ripple takes, if Amazon takes on Ripple, XRP, adopts their technology, I can assure you right now, all the other big boys are going to start following. And so it's not surprising me that I'm sure they've already been knocked on their door. I'm sure Ripple's working with all the big players because they got the connections. But that is massive, massive news that she actually was willing to reveal that live publicly that they're looking at. That just makes me even more bullish than I already was on XRP. I can't even tell you how excited I am. That's huge news, bro. Huge.
Well, if you believe Amazon and Uber are going to be using XRP, smash that like button. Let us know underneath the video. And Johnny, 1,700 NDAs, 300 plus companies, 26 central banks already working with the company Ripple and building on the XRP ledger. This Brad Garlinghouse clip really tells us the game. What Amazon was to books, Ripple is to cross-border payments. And I think Ripple, they're building tokenized assets. They're building stable coins. They are developing this asset class as we speak. And with that being said, smash that like button and we'll see you all in the next one.